Okay, two more. Good, try for this top one. Lock it in. Beautiful. Oh, very, very nice.
You gotta get higher than that. Like, once it's a little bit higher, it actually is more comfortable. So, like, I can keep going there. It's
well, that's what I was saying before. Is that the more comfort you build above that area, the easier it gets to work there. Because there's only so much work you can do when it's a struggle area. You know, like we could spend 5-10 minutes there, but like after that, you're not gonna be able to sing anything in that range that well.
Well, but it's like once I'm at like that kind of B C range, that's
it just floats right out.
It's way easier than the A.
Yeah, exactly. The G sharp A is really a danger
like,
zone.
Okay, here we're now in full head, and it's just like okay, I can get a couple like.
And the goal is to be able to bring that down a little bit lower and be able to access that, so that when you need to sing there for a long time, you can go full head and treat it just like the high Bs and the high Cs. And then in those select moments when you want to add a little bit of chest to your mix to get a little bit of power belt there, you know how much you have there. You know, maybe it's 2 or 3 times a day. And then if I want to belt a high A or a high B flat, if I want to add a little bit of power there, I can do that 2 or 3 times a day. I can't do it 7 times a day. Like there's some range between 1 and 10 and that I can and can't do. You know? And so you got to figure that out for yourself in your voice. But the more you can bring down that pure head and bring that into your medium place, then you can continue to sing those notes all day long and just add the power in those select moments that you need to. So you can practice the songs all day, and then when you go, you then practice once with the actual tone you want, and then go on stage and use that. But you can practice the song 6 or 7 times by just using a little bit more head to keep your stamina up while you're doing it.
Yeah, one thing that I've sort of noticed is, well, first of all, my warm-up gets me to that. Like, my break contracts a lot when I warm up.
Yes, very
like,
cool.
a lot.
Yep.
And it's like not there at all, and then slowly it's there. And then, second, I think it's easier for me to go up as opposed to go down. Like, shifting from
chest to head,
chest to
head
head
to chest.
Yeah, and isn't it normally the other way around?
Generally, yeah. From a pedagogical standpoint, it's usually we usually start teaching from the head down into chest before the opposite, just because it is easier to make damaging mistakes on the way up than it is on the way down.
Okay.
Because it's very rare that people will shift to the chest too early on the way down, but they will tend to hold on to the chest too long on the way up. And it's chest too high that causes problems. Head too low doesn't really cause problems. I mean, it's not a beautiful tone, and it's not something you really want to use all the time. And you know, people who talk in their head voice all the time, exactly. We know those people, and like it's not unhealthy for your voice. It's just kind of a weird sound. So like whatever, but it's not really going to damage you. But a high chest will end up damaging you unless you're doing it in a really well produced, healthy, technically accurate way.
That makes sense.
Whereas a low head just is kind of helping to build that bridge a little bit more. So that's why I try to bring the head down. But yeah, it's understandable for you because you are older, you've had a lot more experience, not like training experience, but singing experience. Singing
and then I can't hit the note.
Years.
Well, I'll work my way. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Well, and exactly, you probably spent years working up and not many years working down. So like what I would say is that it's generally easier for an amateur who has not done a lot to come down. But just like it's probably easier for you to learn baseball than water polo. But if you spent 6 years playing water polo, then you're going to be better at that than baseball. And it's like, okay, is baseball an easier game? Yeah, but not if you've played 6 years of a different sport. So you've been doing, the work up for quite a while. So I imagine that's part of it too. And you will, the things that are difficult for you are the things that you have the most potential for growth in.
Exactly.
So those are the things you should spend the most time.
Of course.
The things that you are good at are the things you should show off in performances. So when you write your songs, write them toward your strengths. But when you practice toward your weaknesses. And continue to build your strengths, because like your strengths are the things you want to show off. And like you don't need to be good at everything. The example I used 1,000 times, Bob Dylan. Like you don't need to be good at everything. He's not that good at a nice floaty head voice. It doesn't happen that often. The same thing with every major singer. Like Justin Timberlake doesn't have a thick, rich, powerful chest voice in his lower range. Like he's known for his floaty, high falsetto stuff. And Beyonce and Mariah Carey and Christina Aguilera. You got agility singers. You've got slower ballady singers. You've got Frank Sinatra was not the world's best singer, but he told a good story. And so you got to know where your strengths are. And he knew where his strengths were so well that he would, smoke cigars and be drinking on stage in between songs, because it wasn't like I would not suggest that for you, because you were trying to have a beautiful tone, but beautiful tone wasn't his primary goal. He would, the crooners sing in a way that's almost like spoken, just singing and speaking. And they don't have tons of high notes, so he doesn't need to maintain, you know, anything on the real high end because it's mostly in that middle baritone range. So you can be smoking and drinking and still sound fine. Now it's not ideal, but you know, you prioritize what you're gonna prioritize. So know the things you're good at, like that. If you know that the heading up thing is easier for you, then write your songs toward that. But when you're practicing, think about the things that are strong.